following conversation is with my good friend Brice Frillici. This is the second time we've spoken about the topic of AI. Brice is an artist and a musician, and he's using AI avidly in his creative work. So now that these new platforms have recently been released that allow for compelling AI-generated music, I wanted to speak with him about what platforms he's using, how he's using them, what the best practices are, what the limitations are. So we go over sort of a broad overview of how to use these new platforms. And then we get into fun speculation about what this might mean for the music industry moving forward. Then we touch on the potential for AI generated video as well towards the end of the conversation. So I really enjoyed this conversation. I found it informative and fun. I hope you do as well. And please check out Brice Frillici's work, which I will link in the show notes below. Now we're live. Brice, thanks for coming back on. We did a recording about 3 months ago. I believe it was our first one. And at the time, AI music and AI video was in a very different place than it is now. So I wanted to get on another stream with you and pick your brain about all of that, because I know you're getting deep into the music production part of it and video and a bunch of other things. So I wanted to catch up with you on those things in this stream. So thanks for doing it with me.
No problem. Thanks for having me again. We're getting our podcast jam. Let's start out with this little fun number. Obviously, we're going to talk about AI music. So this is one of those apps that make little like jingles, but it's pretty fun. You just type a sentence in, but this one was like Brice and Brandon podcast. So stupid, but let me play it.
Listen close to what we say. Bringing tales from far and near, with Brice and Brandon here. On the mic they let's stay. Jiving through the sectic age, they're casting clear.
So dumb.
Lights, camera, and the sound supreme. They're the voices of your indie dream.
I did not work hard on this.
Hit that play. Tune in, it's the sectic way. Oh yeah, stories rich with folks so rare. They dig deep in the podcast lair, catching bits from the day's hot stream.
Obviously cheesy.
So tight, feels like a dream.
Okay, yeah. Obviously, I mean, it's cheesy and stuff. I'm not saying it's good music, but like the performance, not horrible. It's like kind of a cool,
As far as
cool, like
jingles go, that's great. It's like, yeah, if you paid someone on Fiverr to create a jingle for you,
yeah,
I don't know if it would be better than that.
exactly. As far as like any jingle goes, like any advertisement, like that would easily be the one that they choose.
Yeah.
So like that was like no effort, and just I didn't write those lyrics at all. I just said make a song about Brice and Brandon podcast. That's it.
That's it. That was the whole sentence.
It just shows I think it even chose the genre for me.
Wow.
Like, all right.
Wow.
Just do it like this. And it made two songs. This one, I feel like this whole podcast is going to be an advertisement for 3 different AI music platforms. Fair. But Udio Beta, it's free. So they're like giving it out for free. You can do as many songs as you want. You can edit them.
Oh, that's cool.
I had spent that was like probably like the 3rd song I even tried.
Okay.
Out of just opening up the app. And like, I was like, wow, that's pretty good. I tried to make some for my podcast. Just, all right, let's just make some jingles. I can make those jingles too. And I have, and they're like, funny and fun, but these take like one moment and then boom, there you have it. It was kind of shocking how that when Udio hit the scene, which was maybe for me about 2 weeks ago now. And before that, even the last time we talked, it was at the point where like, yeah, I don't have any interest in the music AI. I don't know. It doesn't seem to has hit at all. And I tried a few times and just stupid, right? It felt like, oh, I can make loops in Logic too. That
it was clunky.
That interesting to me. But this seems like you can do full songs and they happen pretty fast. And I have since gotten pretty good results from some of the songs. I'm like, damn, that's really just, I'm catching licks inside the song where I'm like, ooh, that's a really cool lick that they did. Like the way a vocal happens, or, you know, like the stuff that we remember in human music that makes us go like, I love the sound of her voice right here. Hold on, you press rewind. It's like, listen to this part, listen to this kick in. Dude, this kick in is killer. And then you play it and you love that part. This is starting to have that. And like, again, that song was not that cool, but I do think the performance was legit, as good as a human band.
You sent one to me and like, hey, check this out. You didn't tell me it was AI. And you're like, hey, check out this thing I made. And I listened to them like, I had to ask you, did you make that? Or is that AI? Because like, if you did that, it's
like,
impressive.
wow.
But a lot of time put into that like silly jingle, you know, it's like
right, almost like creepy. Be like,
yeah.
Bro's like writing songs
like Brice is having fun over here, but that's a lot of work to have that little 1 minute clip.
It's getting a little too into this relationship. He's writing songs. He's got like a whole album about us. It's creep.
But I was impressed. You told me it was AI. I'm like, shit. I don't think I've heard anything that good as far as AI music. I'm not as deep in it as you are, but I hadn't heard anyone talking about it or showing examples of it that were impressive.
It's weird how these like programs will just hit the scene and you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're here now. Like Sora, you know, the video one.
Yeah.
Which still isn't out. And they, you know, the AI stuff likes to tease you. Some apps will just tease you for so long and you're like, we'll put it out already. This one, never heard of it. And then it was just available. It's bizarre how they do that. Because this one is pretty solid. The other one I played with just today while researching for this podcast blew my mind even more. Suno.
Okay.
Boy, it's like maybe an enhanced version of Udio. It does longer songs all at once. Udio will give you little clips, 30-second clips, and then you have to like extend them, and it takes a little longer.
Okay.
But Suno is like, here's the whole song, minute long. You can make it longer if you want. You just type in whatever info, just like with image prompts.
Wow.
And let me play a quick one from, actually, like, let's play a few more from, I'll do shorter examples. I'll run through the songs that I have here just to give you an example of the stuff that it can do, right? So we played that one. I forgot what this one was. Is the volume good?
In the sectec lights, our host holds sway.
Oh, that's the same one. So
I'm going to turn it down a little bit. That is very loud.
Okay. I think this is a good one. Chant.
In the mirror of time, and you hold it to wreath, and with all the wind you engrave every wreath, sick and just frayed, and you hold and feel away. Apologies are forgotten when only ever told. When the lights have turned up bright, you can't run no more, no more. and the lost of chance and dances with trust that when you're old, and I'll be there for you to remind you, and I'll be there right behind you, and the truth will guide you home, and we will never let it rain in the quiet of dawn, where confessions are born. Let the truth spill out and heal the worn. And when your eyes confess the weight they've borne, I'll be your absolution in the storm.
That's pretty impressive.
It just seems, it's like, yeah, it sounds a little like a lot of country singers, but don't country singers all sound the same?
Country's in so much trouble.
How many?
It does sound a lot like.
And by saying country, I mean all musicians in any genre will sound the same. Really, what I meant to say, not just country.
Yeah,
because
but that one sounded like, oh, I could totally see that passing as a female country music star doing some acoustic thing like that. That sounded very similar.
That was a legit song too, and I wrote the lyrics. That one I did just write. I didn't try hard. I just was like, I'm a poet, so it's not hard. Yeah. But I just wrote some quick lyrics, and I was like, oh, let's try it. Let's see what it does with my lyrics. And it was actually in an actual life, real life situation where there was sort of an apology happening kind of thing. So I wrote that song about an apology in like 2 seconds, but just to try to lighten the mood, and then sent it. But it made that song, and I was like, fuck, if that's like, come on, like someone tell me that's not a like pretty dang good song in itself.
Yeah.
Human or AI. It's just like, it's not that blows my mind. Like if I heard that on the radio, I might not notice it as like, wow, that was the best song I ever heard. Yeah. But I might have been like, oh, this is a cool song. But the fact that it's like, again, the fact that it's made by a machine from a sentence makes it so much more amazing to me, but also legit riffs. Yeah. But I'm going to rifle through quicker on these. I'll just play a little blips of them. That one seemed like a pretty good one, but. Oh, this was the same lyrics.
Really?
Different genre.
Wow. Wow.
Listen to her voice.
I'll be there for you to remind you, and I'll be there right behind you, and the truth will guide you home, and we will never let it rain again.
The AI is the AI just learns people. It learns people like people musicians do. They go, I just listen to all sorts of musicians and I have my style, and I've learned through that. That's what humans do. That's exactly what the AI is doing. It's doing the same exact thing. I mean, I sent that in the text right to you. It was like, I just like, I typed in GPT, like, what is exactly are the music models doing? And it's just like, it just says, pattern recognition, learning from examples. It goes out and searches for all music and gets inspired by it. And then it creates its new music that's original through its knowledge of other people's music. What are we doing? That's exactly what humans do. We don't create it out of our own brains.
But this is much more impressive than I thought, because the only ones I listened to were the 2 jingles that you sent me, and I'm like, those are fun, like podcast jingle things. But then hearing ones that are more serious, like, oh, I'm actually going to try to make this sound good, like those are impressive in a
when I first heard this on a podcast, it was people doing like comedies, fun songs, like way more jingle based. And they were even approaching it with a little bit of like, these are, maybe not great songs, but they make good jingles. And I was thinking like, Yeah, but you guys are asking it to make stupid, silly comedy jingles. Ask it, like, what if Prince was asking it to make a Prince song? Wouldn't it be like, it depends on who is doing the art. If our most creative people get their hands on the AI to make the art, then wouldn't it be like Michael Jordan teaming up with, like Jimi Hendrix to do something great? Like, it's different than some non-artist who's just type something in and go, they're going to make as good as music as anybody. No, they won't. Because they won't know what to type in. It's the same thing with the imagery. But let me play a few more. This one was like, I sent our friend Pietro some.
That's okay.
And again, I was trying to be silly.
Yeah.
This one's about like two goats, Brice and Pietro.
Rise with his streets and Pietro with France. Oh, on mountain high they'd bicker
And dance. Like Beatlesy.
Yeah.
Same.
Laughter rings from the tips of their sound, for the audience gather round. A jewel of melody, soft and loud, with every strum their quirks endowed. In this classical ballad, jokes are sung as brother Pietro to his guitar clung.
That like, wow, it's such an indie rock like cliche, But it's funny.
It's like, what do they call it? The millennial whoop. And there's that sound in a lot of pop music. That's like the indie version of that.
And that's funny seeing the AI attached to that. But you like, of course you understand why it would, like any other young musician might do that with music. You attach too much to a certain voice inflection.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that thing on maybe Instagram or something of this woman mimicking that female voice inflection that all the ladies on NPR are doing? It's like, it's so cringy that I have to turn it off.
I think I have.
I can't even do it myself, but it's the most cringeworthy feeling when she recreates it. It's really interesting how much it makes me feel like that feeling of cringe.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a beautiful piece of art even though I can't even watch it. It's a beautiful piece of odd art.
It's too close to home.
Because I'm like,
this is too good.
The fact that you're nailing that and pointing it out. But anyways, I remember it did that thing a bunch, and I kept having to be like, no, delete. A little bit more poppy. That part is one of those little,
oh my god,
strings. Yeah. How did they, like, that's shit that when you hear a person do it, you're like, sweet, dude.
Yeah.
This is a legit pop song. Playing.
Under strings, his fingers move. Can't hold you.
This is Alice in Chains.
Grunge or something.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Solid scream.
That's great. Oh my god.
Every strum, emotions climb our heart.
Oh, this one's pretty cool.
What's beneath the silence there in the shadows, despair there.
Oh my god.
Bitter words
starts to creep, then your darkness starts to seep.
I don't mind this at all.
Oh my God.
And imagine if you're like, I mean, I'm going to do this. It'd be like, all right, give me a solid backdrop. Make like I might say, all right, we'll take the vocals out of that, and then I can put my own vocals on it. And then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it would be like karaoke kind of, but I sort of made the music. And then if I put a really interesting vocal part, or imagine how much I could just add on to anything. I could say, give me that, and then I'll add tons of guitars over that. When is it totally my song? It's like, God, so many people use Logic that way. They just use the loops. I use a loop pedal all the time, and I never once thought that it wasn't my music. I was like, yeah, I played it, but I looped it.
Or I can imagine like sampling this, like if you're a DJ or like making electronic music, you could use this to find samples. And then how much flexibility is there in the editing part where you can say, I like this one section, you know, loop this section and then add something on top of it. Like how much flexibility does it give you in there?
You can do like extend section, select section, so you have total
that's so cool
edit controls. You're like, do an intro right now, right there, and replace that. I mean, and this is like day 2 of this stupid software. I mean, very early on. So like, but like as you can see, there's pretty good editing function within it. But like, you know, if I were to make music with this, which I will, I'm sure I'll start using AI to make music as well as how I do it. But, you know, I'll make riffs in here, however, and then I'll just pull them out, put them in Logic and edit them in there, probably would be my method. But like the better this software gets, the more you'll be able to just edit in here fully, and then pull out the finished song. And like, say you're backing for your vocal idea or whatever. And it's like so many possibilities. Like you can get ideas from like, what if you just repeated one of these songs with your own playing? Because you're like, well, the song idea was great, and I like the riffs. So I made it in AI, and it was I brainstorming. So I'm going to make that song. And then you sort of recreate it like a cover. That's sort of your song. I mean, that's cool to me, because you're like, well, why the fuck not? Using it as a tool, it's cheating. Okay, I mean, it just doesn't
I just
seem
see
like...
it as a tool as well. I mean, it's more cool to me if someone's manipulating, like taking an idea from it, manipulating it, even with the AI, and then you're bringing your taste into it. So I feel like that makes it partially yours too, or I mean, like fully yours, really.
I'm definitely recognizing the ease of it, and it's like you're not being a musician when you're doing this. You're making music though, but you're not making it as a musician. You're making music as a fucking typist, as an idea.
Like a producer. You're like an
producer.
AI producer or something. Yeah,
you're a music producer for sure.
Yeah,
you're like an art director. Like it's the same thing with AI imagery. You're like, you're not a painter. Nobody's pretending that you are. So like everybody's like, that's like complaining how you're not a photographer or a painter, and like you would know nothing if you had a Canon 900 Mark 1. You wouldn't know what's the first thing to do with it. You're right, but we're not claiming that. If you are, you're kind of cheating. I think that's not good. But there's just a million ideas that will come into my head. I know that as time goes on of how to use this stuff, but just right off the bat, the fact that I can make more accurately, like, all right, just give me a style. I want this loop, or I mean, man, like, give me some ideas. I want to make a hard song and I want to do the vocals. Give me some drums and a cool bass and one metal guitar, and like, I'll do the rest.
Can you take one of these songs that it gives you or clips that it gives you and say, I really like that one riff. You can cut that out like you just showed me. You can cut out that part of the clip, but can you say like highlight that? Be like, I like this riff. Give me 5 more like this. Or it's not quite that flexible yet. Can you do any sort of that? Like, I like this. Do another option.
The remix button makes another version of it. Okay. It's almost like it'll keep making versions that are very close to the one you just made, which is cool. Okay. It does that with Midjourney too. Like you just, unless you like erase, shake the Etch-a-Sketch and start over, you kind of have to do that to get to another genre and write a new prompt. But you can tweak your prompt just slightly. But again, I'm new to this too, so I don't know the breadth of the.
Okay. And then with the inputs, what can you do with the inputs? So you could say, I want to do a song with these lyrics, or you can say, do a song with these lyrics in this style. Can you put in like artist names, like similar to Jimi Hendrix or similar to something like, can you reference other things and it'll do it based on that? Or is it still pretty crude?
Good question. But because I think that you can't, it doesn't want you to say, make a song like Randy Travis, because it'll be like, sorry, unethical. It's built into their censored language models, like in everywhere, like to avoid the deep fake stuff. So, but it'll say, in fact, I did try that once with this, and it just says, sorry, we can't do that. Just rephrase it. And then you're like, okay.
You can say like 60s psychedelic rock or something. And that would be,
yeah, you got to talk about the genre and you work your way around that. And you can then just describe the voice. Like if you can describe a Tom Waits voice, it'll make a voice like Tom Waits.
Okay.
Which is also kind of fair, because you don't want to say, make a song with Tom Waits' voice. That is cheating.
Yeah.
And that's what happened recently with, these are cool things to talk about too. Like the 2 recent headlines were the Randy Travis thing. Are you aware?
Oh, I'm not aware of that one. Okay. So that's a specific example. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened there was Randy Travis had a stroke and he lost the use of his voice. So he can't sing. So it was like a tragedy for a singer, right? How horrible. Mm-hmm. It's like a sports person losing their legs. Like, I can't do my thing. So he used AI with his own voice to make a new album, which is like, if that's not a positive case usage of AI and in these early stages, what is? Of course, that got backlash. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's
like taking my dad getting backlash for having 2 titanium hips. Be like, you're not supposed to walk, so why are you like, come on, what are we doing? You won't let that person with their own voice. He's not ripping anybody off. It's his voice. Yeah. His likeness of his own voice. He's the one that can use that. And that's the best case scenario. If you're using your own likeness, then we're not ripping anybody off or tricking anybody. Everybody, it's not like he said, it's me. I cured my stroke. It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So then cut to, and I'm stupid for not knowing exactly who this rap artist is, but some fucking one of the big ones was doing a diss track against another big one.
I saw this is like Drake and Lamar or something. They're going back. Yeah, something. I'm not super familiar either, but I've seen
they used
a little bit.
Tupac's voice, and it's like, okay, you didn't get permission to do that, and they got panned across the board by the whole industry, righteously so, and all of the songs got removed from all the platforms, righteously so. Certainly, probably a lot of songs are still out there because they can't erase the internet, but they got real stigmatized for that. And it was like, that was kind of a cool thing. I was like, all right, like no one wants that stuff to happen. That's the stuff that everybody agrees shouldn't happen. You don't want to rip people off and like do deep fakes using artists' voices that aren't yours. Yeah. That's like the same thing as using like it's too much of a sample, or like, wow, that song, you used my whole song, man. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
You can sample me, but you can't use the entire song and pretend it's yours and make money.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
but like but plenty of rap artists
Interesting.
are using their own voice. Like, pretty sure Drake is doing that a lot. He's writing albums too with his voice as AI.
Wow. So this brings up an interest. I've heard people talk about the idea of music or movies or films, whatever, that are perfectly tailored to you. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
could say it's maybe at some point in the future it'll be like, hey, I know Kendrick Lamar hasn't come out with anything new. Can you create a playlist of original works in his voice, in his style that I would appreciate? And then it could create a new album for you that's tailored to your tastes. Or maybe it doesn't even have to be a specific artist, but it could be like, hey, this genre, can you create in this genre? And it's my own playlist that AI created specifically for me. Like, that seems like a cool direction that it could go. It gets weird.
That's where it's
but
going. It's
Yeah.
specific. It's going to just be so good at being so specific to you, where it'll be
Mhm.
like, that is a unique talent that humans don't have, that it will be better
Yeah.
at. Maybe it'll be so good at it. I was saying this earlier today, actually, just speculating. Maybe like in many years or whatever, next week, it'll just be so good at making music that it actually will be able to like change people's brain chemistry. It's like just able to find the exact frequency for each person. Because like, think about
Yeah.
it, how, people talk about that in like shamanism, like how
Yeah.
those Icaros and the songs are like a
What was
little
it?
bit more specifically
Binaural beats.
binaural beats.
Remember those?
Yeah.
Those were popular for a while. Yeah, where it's like, oh, I
I
want to
use
put you
that.
in this state with a certain
Yeah, people have been
frequency.
saying this
Yeah.
for ages. Like, music has a certain, healing properties. I mean, there is sound healing, literally. I've tried it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things you're like, all right, aspirin works better, but
Yeah.
like, we're talking possible technology here. What if, if it's 1,000, 1,000,000 times smarter and more advanced than humanity, than any human brain, could it find these things out? Would it ever have the motivation to do so? I don't know. But who knows where AI music could go beyond human, and
Yeah.
how it could be better in some way. But it's certainly going to be tailored to you, especially is that you can just type in exactly what you want and you'll get that thing.
Yeah.
Maybe an artist
Interesting.
hasn't done a certain mixture of styles yet. And
Yeah. I
you
can see a
will
lot
be able
of
to do that.
fun mashing up different genres. It'd be so easy to do it.
Maybe
Yeah.
somebody's not musically talented, but they're really creative about thinking.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
they will be a new type of musician. And that'll be like a different kind of whole section of musical artists. Like,
Yeah.
the very talented thinker and creative person, just in that one vein. Like, wow, he comes up with the wildest things, or she does, or whatever. I don't know.
Do you mind turning up just a little bit? I think you've gotten your audio's a bit low. Or maybe it's that.
Do what?
There we go. Perfect. Yeah.
More
there we
mic?
go. Yeah. You were getting really quiet there for a second.
Oh, sorry.
Do
you want to?
That makes sense. Sorry, what?
Do you want to quick listen to a few more examples?
Yeah. Let's do it.
We're on it. We listen to that one.
That's very loud. There we go.
Shadow streets, this is for truth. Through the whispers of the tower path.
I like this one.
In the gaze of a stormy sky, I've embraced the night. I won't be outcast. Here it is.
It's like Nickelback or something.
Shadowed heart, the silent scream.
Every mic's alive with tales to free.
I've actually kind of been like, oh, another one of those Beatles sounding ones. Like maybe if I played around with this, there would be a like a ceiling. You know, there could be. I haven't played around with that much. You know, because I have heard that specific sort of Beatles-ish sound, and they are really playing right to the center of genres, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, ooh, that's a good indie rock song, but you know.
Can you do like an example of like, I don't know, what would like drone metal or something? Does it start getting into like?
I did some of that, yeah.
Okay, so that's, I mean, so it's not just like there's like 10 different genres it'll play with. It can get pretty niche.
This one, whatever you write in it, it'll do it. And that brings me to a real quick look at one that has been out a while and that is seemingly kind of big, called Loudly. And that one is so lame. I played with it today. That one is one where you're like, it gives you only like, there's only like 10 genres. And then you have to choose one of those 10. And then if you want a bass guitar or a female vocalist or whatever. But I was like, okay, this is what I thought AI music was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's why I wasn't interested. And I think that that's what most people think it is now. Because they might have played with something like that or typed in something and it was like, oh yeah, whatever. This is not impressive.
So you're listening to a lot of people that talk about this and you have a bunch of different sources of information. Is this becoming something like a big topic of conversation, or is it still kind of so new that people aren't talking about it much?
I think right now it's just popping off because it's like, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm right on this, but I do believe that, like I said before, the singularity has happened. The mini singularity was in imagery. It is now in music where it's like, well, it's as good as humans. Like sometimes better, but we also have amazing artists. So that probably like Prince is probably still better than AI, but like, I don't know for how long, because especially with some of the stuff I was playing around with today, because there's just, it's up to the person really then to be a real creative person like Prince to then make one. But forgot what I was saying, but I think this was a drone. Oh, okay. No, it's not.
Nope.
Hear the septic sound.
I'll like, keep using my own name, but wait, this.
It's such a fun thing. You can like you can just put it in so many different places where it's like a fun, like almost like a meme. It's like the world that you've created.
Yeah, that was me still doing, trying to do my podcast jingles. But then this one, this one was like the little better, like more, like a better version. It's called Suno. This is
the other one, yeah.
And I think this is newer too, but like I was making some pretty hard stuff. I don't know. Like this is.
Did it create the images for it as well? Or
yes.
Did you upload those images? Oh
wow.
Okay.
It gives the lyrics.
Oh, wow.
And the album cover. It's so ridiculous.
Wow.
And just listen to this song. Oh, it might be loud. I'm not sure.
That's a good volume, I think.
I can't tell the difference between any awesome black metal band and this.
The only thing is the voice. It sounds like it's going through, like, what do they call it? Vocoder or something. That sounds like an interesting effect on the voice, but otherwise, yeah.
I like the effect.
Yeah. Oh my God. This does sound like, yeah.
It's a cool album cover. I love the lo-fi. Shh.
Lost in a haze, we stumble and we sway beneath the weight of the unknown. we stray. A melancholy melody whispering in. Lost in a haze, we stumble and we sway beneath.
Man,
Two more quick audio versions, and then I'm done with the sort of samples,
okay.
and then we can just chat a little bit more. But hold on one sec, because these are probably some of the better ones by this new one that's come out called 11 Labs, but it's not available yet. It's like Suno. It's like, look what it can do, but it's not. They don't make it public yet, so let me show you.
Okay.
To clean your
Is that too loud?
sneak.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little loud.
I mean, this is a fucking good indie song. This is right up there with, like, what's that one huge indie band? I hate when I do this. I just lose my recall. But
No worries. I have terrible recall as well.
the Strokes, that's what I was going to say.
Oh,
This is
Strokes,
pretty
okay.
much a good, I think, a decent version of like a Strokes song.
Okay.
You're using the toothpaste to clean your sneakers. I'm using the last of the honey for my lemon bars. I'm scared of the future.
I mean,
my teeth are getting
the
weak.
personality of his voice is
You're
notable, I think.
having another
Yeah.
picnic.
Yeah. The voice stands out a lot compared to the
He
The
does something
instruments,
coming
but-
up too with his voice. That part. That is just like,
wow. Yeah.
that's the kind of shit that makes girls get excited, right? When guys sing like that. It's true. Because like that, they have that raspy, like,
Yeah.
solid. Good scream.
Keep the laundry fold.
Get the idea. Sorry.
That's very loud.
One
too,
more.
yeah.
And this is like definitely a pop song that might as well be a pop hit wonder right now. Like Dua Lipa.
Okay.
If I never said before, tell me what you're here for.
Just I love her
What's
voice.
wrong with being
Yeah.
It's not a
me?
person.
Why do
Yeah.
you have to see love on empty? Love on empty.
Nothing about this sounds like a robot to me.
Broke my heart to feel you.
No.
Just like a catchy
No.
Breathing
Especially with more digital music to
Right.
begin with.
all that's the problem with that stuff. It all sounds so robotic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But her riffs, the way she sings like that,
This does sound very human.
bum,
The
bum,
voice.
bum,
Yeah.
like a weird way of singing.
'Cause you're
It's
Yeah.
not
Too much
the
to
average
bear.
pop song either.
'cause I don't
You know what I mean? Like
No.
even care.
if that was a new artist, I'd be like, wow, she has such a cool style the way she's singing, like
Yeah.
FK Twigs or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Like I could actually, I could listen to that probably.
Yeah.
If you didn't tell me that was AI created, but yeah, it's a decent electronic pop whatever
Yeah.
song.
And
Yeah.
also, I get that we're playing music that we personally don't listen to all the time. Like,
Yeah, like I would rarely listen to something in that
Right.
genre unless it was just like on somewhere that I would happen to be
for
at.
sure.
But
And
yeah.
some of that other like regular pop alternative kind of indie stuff, I'm not even that interested in these days. So I mean, I'm not playing it like
Yeah.
this is what I love and look what it's doing. It's more like I'm just as
Yeah.
a music appreciator, I'm just appreciating
yeah,
it
yeah,
like,
like this is
yeah,
impressive
like, okay,
what it's
for
doing.
for
yeah.
whatever this is. but that song really got me too. And I think that's why they put that song out as their advertisement, because they're like, look what we can do.
Yeah. Well, this has to be disrupting the music industry already, right? Because like, there's teams of songwriters for a lot of these big musicians, right? So like now you can kind of write a lot of this stuff with AI, right? Like, do you need to hire a songwriter?
Well, you don't need that stooge
for
you
lyrics,
don't need the stooge stand-in, like, what do they call it, industry plant anymore, because like you just make it, because that's what a lot of that stuff is. It's like, it's not necessarily the person's particular talent. A lot of times it is. I'm not saying everything isn't what it seems,
or like aspects of it can be like country music. A lot of them pay to have the lyrics written for. They have ghostwriters for the lyrics, right? And then they'll somehow craft around. Yeah. So it's like, what are all these ghostwriters going to do? What are these, I guess, studio musicians? I'm wondering when it might disrupt that part of the industry.
That's a super good point. Like, think about how much in music, like, I'm not at all that type of artist. I'm like, to me, I respect somebody that does their own art. I get like a comedian who writes his own jokes. That there's no, like, I understand if you have a show and have writers, but as a stand-up, I do think it's better if you just write your own. But that's just like the purist in me, whatever. But as a musician, for sure, it's way cooler if you are the person making the music fully.
Absolutely.
It just is.
Yep.
But it's like, if somebody else is writing the music for you and the lyrics and you're the performer, then what's the difference between making a complete AI song and you're just up there doing the motions and then singing? Like, that would be equivalent.
A lot of them
this.
are singing to a, what do they call it, a scratch track, or it's on the background. So a lot of them, it's like they're not even really singing live.
It's
they're
just
kind
loops,
of lip syncing and do it.
It's like some producer guy or girl produce that track using loops of some kind, and a lot of that is not anybody playing the drums, or they might be doing that. I mean, there's just levels, like we're talking about, like when you think about those modular synth machines, like, okay, like, there's levels of involvement. You can press a button and leave the room, it'll keep making the music. That seems weird, but of course the more involved you get, the more you program it, you'll be the full controller of it, and then you kind of wrote that song. But music production is like that. You get somebody who's just picking a beat. Okay, Logic creates this cool beat. You tweak the bass and treble to where it sounds different enough than what it originally was, and add an effects pedal. Oh, look at that. It's a whole new song. And, that's what they're doing. And then somebody comes in and sings. It's like everybody makes music differently. But
exactly. I tend to gravitate towards music that, it's like the singer-songwriter is the one singing and writing the song, and it's a little more of like a purist thing I think I have.
Yeah.
But I know that there's so much of the music, there's elements that are done not at all by the musician that you think is doing it, right? Like, so someone's buying beats, or someone's paying for lyrics, or someone's, it's all studio musicians except for the vocals, or it's, it's like you start there. I know there's layers to it.
And like, we're just putting this into context of like what a lot of music is not a person sitting there with a mic going into a mic going like, all right, let's make this sound.
Exactly.
They do that, but I'm not everybody.
I could see this. That. Yeah. And it's no judgment. It's just some of those things are just not appealing to me. Right. But like country music, I feel like a lot of times you can tell who wrote their own music, and then like, the top 40 radio play stuff, a lot of those things are produced by a team of people. But then the country music that I actually appreciate is usually like one guy that does it all, or or a few guys in a band that do it all. And you can tell it's more of it's a less produced thing. But I could see this taking over a lot of those elements of the music industry, and like those people are just not going to need to be involved anymore.
But like, let's quick chat about how the feeling of an artist, of like fear or like, oh, great. Like, say they hear that song that we just played, that pop song, and they think it's really good.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're all fucked.
Yeah.
Like, and what that is saying about someone. It'd be like, A, you don't want something to be better than you.
Yeah.
B, you're afraid of greatness. Because, like, what if it was just a human that was that good or better, that was like, oh my God, I'll never be that as good as Prince. Like, I might not be.
Yeah.
I probably won't be. But that doesn't make me at all ever feel bad. I'm sure some people that does make them feel bad. That jealousy happens in comedy a lot. You know what I mean? Like, they seem to get, especially in the old days before it was a little bit more of a community like it is now, people would just hate people if they're good, instead of wanting them to be good and learning from that and experiencing that greatness, you know? It's like the fear of greatness is real. And I hate that, because it's like, don't be afraid of, or don't fear it. What? It's not there to hurt you. You can only grow from it. Right?
Yeah, well, it's like, it's an attachment to like that outcome in a way. Where like, I wanted that outcome for myself. If something does it better than I do, maybe I won't get that outcome.
Right.
But as a consumer of it, actually, by the way, do you mind turning your mic up a little bit?
I keep sitting back.
No worries. Yeah, as a consumer of it, doesn't really bother me at all. Because I think there will always be music made by humans. You know, I don't think it's going away necessarily. But if I was a creator, I could see the fear part of it. We're like, oh, maybe people won't appreciate what I do anymore. So I could see that fear there. But at the same time, if it's better, it's better. So,
like, I guess, like, if you take a year to make an album and somebody's making AI albums that are really, really good.
Yeah.
And it takes them, they can make 10 albums in that 1 year. It really, I'm not sure what, because be like, that's not fair. What's the reaction?
Yeah.
Is like, somebody's doing something more effectively than me and they found a way to do it, but they're not making it.
Yep.
Okay, but is it better music? If it is, then this just doesn't matter. But what do you say about that? Like, do you say, I don't know what there is to say about that. I guess I'm stuck on that idea. I don't know what, like, it just depends on if it's better or worse. If somebody doesn't like, if somebody could never, at some point you couldn't tell if it was human or AI. So don't give me this thing where like, well, how does it make you feel though? Because I feel weird when I hear AI music. No, you don't. That's a lie.
Yeah.
You'll never know.
No.
So if you like something a lot more than the guy who takes a year to do it, you're just lying to yourself. And if you're an artist who's lying about that too, then you're lying to yourself too. There's no way, there's no escape from this. It's like, okay, but that would mean like, then a musician will have to figure out new ways of making music, or you would just be like, well, I'm not that interesting right now. I don't know what it'll be, but
I like the idea of, instead of stigmatizing it,
there's
making
so much
it be
music.
something more like you're a music producer or like a co-creator with AI or something. Or
there's so much music and different genres out there that there's always probably in our lifetime. So it's going to be like, well, the genre of human music and the genres of AI music. I would assume it'll always be known what is what, because people want to know that, you know, and there's easy ways to prove it, which is why I'm not worried about deep fakes as much either. Cause it's like, there's, you know, AI could probably figure it out. It's just, you have to just care enough to look into that.
What do you think about live shows? So how has this changed the live experience of music? Cause that's a big part of it, right? So I don't know. I mean, like, so the DJ thing that came out, and I think a lot of people really hated on DJs because like they're not really playing music; they're just playing other people's music, right? So, but then that found its own thing, right? Like people love nightclubs where there's a DJ, so still
Yeah,
like
but
a bit
nobody's
of like a
going
live
for
element
live
to it.
performance when they see a DJ. They're just going to be like, I'm going to a club.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Or I mean, there's some people like there's there's celebrity DJs, like people do go see DJs for their sort of taste, I guess, or like the energy that they bring, or like maybe they produce their own music and then they're playing their own music as a DJ, and it brings like a different level.
and
Because people
when
do
that
appreciate
popped up, it kind of created a new genre of things to do. And before it was just
Yeah.
live bands, and then now it's this new thing. You can
Yeah.
also go to a club and dance, and it's sort of a whole new thing, I guess. And then the people
Yeah.
who didn't give a shit about that didn't go, like me, because I usually
Yeah.
didn't like those shows when I went, and I felt weird. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not into this as much because really I'm just sitting here
Yeah.
looking at somebody playing like on stage, and they're not even.
Yeah.
It's not as fun for me because it was more fun to watch the actual music come out of the person and the stage presence.
Yep.
But
I'm the same way, even though I worked in that environment for a long time. Like I never got it the way that some people do, but
But
I
a
know that some
turntablist-
people legitimately love it.
But-
Yeah. What was it, the turntablist?
I watched a turntablist play their instrument. Like that's different because
Yeah.
you're like watching a person
Yeah.
actually play. I mean, there's so many rainbow of levels of what a DJ means. There, if a turntablist
Yeah,
is like
that
a
too.
full-on musician
Yeah.
playing an instrument, it's just he's using
Yeah.
knobs to make sounds like I would on a guitar. Same exact thing.
Yeah.
Then there's the
Yeah.
really bad juvenile DJ who's just playing songs from his iTunes and then acting
Yeah.
like
yeah,
a
exactly.
musician.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
is
Yeah.
infuriating.
Exactly.
And that talk about, oh my God, I was a booker of that at that bar, house music bar.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
yeah.
a lot of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
guys considered themselves like musicians for real. And they were shameless about that. So that was awful. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you're always going to have posers in life. In everywhere you look, everywhere in every genre of everything. So, I mean, AI music, what's the performance going to be? There's no person to perform it, like until they get their
Yeah.
biological. I mean, if you get AI making biological life forms and it starts performing music, I'm gonna go see that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be really fucking interesting. So, like, let's wait and
Right.
see. But if it's a block of computer, no one cares. Then we're not there for the experience of the performance. But that doesn't take away from what AI's music is doing. If it's getting where it's almost as interesting as our most interesting musicians, that's
Yeah.
exciting.
I mean, I'm totally riffing. I don't expect you to have the answer
Yeah, I'm
here.
riffing
It's just
too.
like, that's a fun question. Yeah, it's a fun
Nobody
question.
can call me
And
lame
I'm
for
thinking,
anything I
like,
say right now because I'm just
no,
speculating
we're all speculating
and just being
Yeah.
positive instead of the
Yeah.
predominant negative shit that everybody says.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of an environment like, let's say, they call that thing the Sphere in Vegas.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a sphere,
amazing.
right? Yeah, yeah. It's that dome with all the video inside of it. The whole thing is basically
Yeah, good,
a screen.
good point.
So if you could do AI images in that environment, like AI video
Off the
with
charts.
AI music, and it's perfectly curated, like a 2-hour experience. It'd be more of an experience versus
A show.
like I'm going to show up and watch this person perform. It's like, what are these AI experiences people could have?
The sky's the
that
limit.
Seems
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
I mean, again, bringing a different type of entertainment experience to the table, which is already, it is.
Yeah.
But like, it's like, you just have to be creative and use your imagination and start thinking of this stuff and, and just realize that we're limited in that ability as humans. We can only be so creative, and our most creative people can only be so creative. But something that's its only job, it doesn't sleep, and its only job is to be as creative as possible. 5 years from now, it's going to be coming out with some, or hopefully we'll be coming out with just the most insane things. It's just a baby right now. It's day 2, and it's making, I think it's safe to say, this good of music regardless
Yeah.
of whether or not you like those 8 songs I played that I didn't try to do well at. I just was like, whatever, type a sentence.
Yeah.
Doesn't that blow your
It's-
mind though?
It would still be in the top 10, 20% of musicians
Yes.
if it was up against musicians. That's the thing. Yeah.
Across the board in AI, humans are just have so much
Yeah.
weird, like overly amplified opinion of themselves. I'm like, why do you think, but like, show me, like, I could show you so much terrible human music that sounds like a
Oh,
robot
absolutely.
using all
Yeah.
the voice effects and like pitch shifts and whatever crap that you're
Yep.
just like, man, this sounds so canny and non-human. But yet
Yeah.
that stuff is like, okay, I mean, what, we're doing so much bad stuff. We're not that great at
Yeah.
music
No,
either.
it-
Only a few artists are that
Is
great.
it-
How many comedians are there? They always talk about that. Like in the world.
Yeah.
You know what the number
Yeah.
is?
There's maybe a couple
Yeah.
thousand, 10,000.
No, it's like
what?
1,000. If that.
Yeah.
It's probably
Yeah.
more like in the hundreds because there's not that many,
Yeah.
dude. We listen to all of the ones
Yeah.
that have podcasts. It's like
Yeah.
there's a lot of undiscovered people out there, but
I guess if you break it into professional touring, that's how they pay the bills kind of comedian, and then there's probably, thousands of open micers in the United States, right? That just
Right.
aren't professional. Yeah.
probably not. And a lot of those aren't like, you can say you're a comedian, that's fine, but you can't be like, how many good, legitimate comedians out there? Because a lot of people just pick up a guitar and
Yeah.
plunk around. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
You
like-
call them a musician. It's fair, but it's like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, how many albums you got out? Are you a serious musician? You playing?
Yeah.
Is this a
yeah.
real thing or just something you do here and there?
It's a hobby.
Like
Like
once
I
in a
play
blue
guitar.
moon.
I wouldn't call myself a musician. Yeah.
It depends on what you do,
Yeah.
It's like everything. If you just once in a while, if you own a skateboard and once in a while ridden it, it's different than a skater who rides every day and really hits it,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So we talked about AI music, and you wanted to go over Sora a little bit because I think the first time we talked, they had just shown examples of what it could do. I think, or maybe
Yeah.
we talked about it afterward, but I know it wasn't really a thing when we first talked. So
well, it's still
and now a lot more has
well,
come
not
out.
a ton, just that one video, right? That we both watched. It's like
Well,
a new music video.
The music video.
That's the only other
Yeah. But
major thing.
they've been uploading more examples
Here
and
and
stuff, though,
there.
right? Or like, yeah, okay. And then do they have an expected release date
Uh,
for public release?
Every
No?
time I
No? Okay.
look into it, I don't get that far, and then I'm just like, whatever, it'll happen when it happens. Like I'll find out
Yeah.
because there's a lot of stuff like
Yeah.
that, and I'm like I'm not like waiting like I can't wait. It's like there's so much happening
Mm.
that, and then there's a lot of like hype where you're like, stop showing me this stuff without just giving it to me. It's sort of annoying in a way. Like just let us use it.
So they're teasing. They're dropping.
Yeah, like why
teasers,
can't
yeah.
why can't I use this?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
well, real quick, Sora is the one just for
Yeah.
the listener, is where it's the video production one where it's like absolutely devastates all of film video production. Like music production is one thing,
Hmm.
and that's
Yeah.
a big industry, but I don't know, musicians already don't get any money, so it's sort of like
Yeah.
it's not the same. It's not the same screwing
Yeah.
over. It's not the same decimation feeling in my mind, right? Because
hmm Yeah.
so many musicians, there's too many, and I don't know. They're definitely lose some jobs because now there's no more musicians needed to make any kind of jingles or dumb music for any commercials. All that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
I don't know
Yep.
who's paying.
Out the window.
Because they pay a lot of money in the past. Like you could get $10,000 to be in like a Saturn ad,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
nobody, I don't know how they would do that now given that technology. So that is
How would they,
devastating. So I'm going to
justify
retract
it?
what I was just saying.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, and then
devastating.
Well, and then there's all if it gets to a point where it affects live music performances, there's a lot of jobs in and around the live music thing, right? Like
That
concert
seems more
venues
confusing.
and
Like how would
all
that's going to be a ways away because they're not.
Yeah, I think that'll be a ways. I think
There's no way for them to perform.
I think there's gonna be a lot of people that are just purists, and I think a huge element of it is the in-person experience too. So like, I think there'll be like it'll change over time. I can see that, just like how DJs kind of change the landscape of live music or events or whatever. But so with film, I think it's gonna be very challenging for the film.
That's
industry
much deeper
when this comes out.
Because every commercial,
Yeah.
everything that we see is just like video these days, and
Yeah.
B-roll and all the little production shit. There's huge production companies like, you don't need cameras anymore. It'll sort of like, it makes cameras obsolete. Big expensive video cameras.
Yeah.
Like shoots in New York down like, famous streets of New York or Paris. You can just type in a sentence and it makes it look indistinguishable. That's nuts. Like I remember when they came out with small drones this big.
Yeah.
And they were like, wow,
Yep.
like we're shooting huge establishing shots now for the price of, I don't know, a small drone is much less than a helicopter. So that,
exactly. I was just thinking of the helicopter
and
example.
then you
too. I'm like,
see that in
that's-
movies and you'd be like, wow, that is a shot they probably did with a drone now. They didn't need a helicopter to do this crazy stuff. And then now it's like you don't need anything. And then it puts real power in the hands of just some kid. You could just make Apocalypse Now if you're creative. What's to stop anybody from making Kurosawa films?
So
Nuts.
what I'm curious about with the film is it seems like it's going to be much more resource intensive, right? So like you're going to need a lot more data to make AI movies. So I wonder if there's going to be a bit of a filter, like price. They're going to charge you a lot for the ability to do AI film because it's going to take more,
of course,
servers. It's going to take more.
Yeah, but like every time,
I'm wondering what the roadblocks are going to be there that way, because it feels like there has to be something to slow it down, right?
For instance, Runway was and is, you can do this already in Runway. Actually, it's just not as good. It's like that kind of AI where you're like, this isn't that fun because it looks too much like AI and stupid. The hands are never right.
Yeah.
Flipper hands.
Yeah, exactly.
It's clearly below the quality of what we saw with Sora, where you're like, it's indistinguishable. But Runway started out as you can do 5 seconds. Okay, not that fun.
Yeah.
You can do 30 seconds. Now you can do like 5 minutes. So that happened in a short amount of time. I'm assuming
for free. Or do they
maybe
charge
I had a prescription.
Service? I haven't played that.
Subscription for AI.
I'm gonna prescribe you some AI here. Yeah,
I paid a little bit, like whatever, but I mean, I pay for all these tools because it's worth it for me.
Yeah.
It's just, why not? Feels like you're giving back too if you're using this stuff all the time. Like I'll pay the $10 a month to use GPT. I don't care, or I guess it's 20. And I pay for Midjourney. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be a huge issue because it seems like they fix those things really quick and they just make them fast. But also, that's what the slaves in other countries are for, to make the chips and stuff and give us all the resources so we can use it for our entertainment.
It's a very positive outlook on that. No. Well, I hear
that
a lot
is,
of
I guess, a
now
debate
bringing up
against AI.
The environmental impact. The environmental impact of AI. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about that because it's super resource intensive just for the server space, right? That's what they're claiming. I haven't looked into
one
that
of those
deep,
fishy,
but I've been hearing that go around.
Seems like one of those like
might be a convenient anti-AI take, right?
Really? Okay, where
we're burning a lot of resources here.
Resources going then? What, I don't know. I'm not demeaning any kind of bullshit, like bullshit that we do in our corporations that all of us are complicit of. Anybody that owns
my
any
iPhone
phones
has
or anything.
conflict minerals.
So like, it's one of those.
yeah.
That's one of those arguments that's like complicated because you're like, okay, I guess I'll just I don't know about that because I don't know the facts about it really. How much?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm like, I could see that being true, but is it ever really going to be a problem? The conflict minerals, that's an issue that bothers me.
Of course, but
and I wish there was a way around that, and I wish there. Yeah,
it's like, are they?
Yeah,
are the chips? Well, yeah, I don't know. It's like I don't have enough information to even talk about that.
Yeah, and
at what
exactly.
cost?
Yeah, so I was wondering,
what about what if it's sort of like with AI, it seems so much beyond that already that if we can keep going positively, it will solve so many things that would make that no longer a problem. So like if you're positive about it, you could be like, AI, let's figure out a way to power you without the use of this mineral that is, enslaving people. How big of a problem is it? Like, you think that the AI will ever figure out how to make free energy? Jesus Christ, we've already done that, most likely, with Tesla.
Mm-hmm. Most
right?
likely.
Probably.
Supposedly, depending on the circles.
So many random dudes from India have already solved that problem. We just keep, like, killing them and pretending like our only resource is what we have. So, like, it's stuff like that, like the cost benefit. That's why I don't.
Yeah, it was like innovate through the problems. I feel like at this point, that's the only way to get through some of the things we're in is that you have to innovate through it. And I think AI could speed up the process of innovating through a lot of problems.
Yeah, out of all things, it's probably going to help with things like that, like curing medical issues. And it's like, man, it's just like people have to let it do that, and then the people who are making it have to guide it in those positive directions. And that means that we just have to hope for the best that people are being good. And what else can we do? You can't force anybody to do anything because they're free to make whatever they want. It's their business. It's not, I didn't make AI.
Yeah.
I can only take in, right? We just get to experience whatever some other genius makes and hope for the best.
Yeah. So you don't see any cats. I was wondering, this came from my question about how they're going to like throttle it, I guess, because I would love the idea that they release, like Sora releases. Yeah, I know they're already throttling with like ChatGPT and all these other things, right? With Sora, I wonder if it comes out, if it's going to be as disruptive as we might think it will be, because they might have to throttle it.
How it can't be. Because just
purely like, okay, am I going to be able to make movies for myself for my own pleasure? Like that, the data probably won't allow for that, right? Or maybe you're going to have to pay $1,000 a month for the ability to make full movies or something.
I can make a full album right now. By the time we got done talking, I could probably have a full album of music. Why would you? That's 50 minutes of music. I could do that while we're talking.
Wouldn't the video be?
That means that.
But wouldn't the video be more data intensive? Like much more?
I don't think it is, man. I'm running these things on my Mac Mini, and it's a matter of like, in like whatever 2 weeks when they give us Sora, that means that it'll probably be a certain amount of minutes that we'll get. Like you'll be able to, for $9 a month, you make 5 minutes of video each prompt. Okay, then how long does that take you to make an hour-long movie? I don't like what is the data what's the large data issue there? I don't see it.
Yeah.
Is that unless I
was just thinking that might slow things down, but
they're not going to be able
Yeah,
to
if
release
you're
it if it doesn't work. It's only going to be able to be given to us if it works. It already clearly works. They made that music video.
Yeah, it already clearly
It's like
works.
we
yeah.
saw that music video.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
somebody was able to
Yeah.
get through whatever large data chunks that is, and I'm assuming that's not really an issue. I think that the fact that they're even to be able to do this means they've gotten over those humps.
Yeah. So I think the video thing to me might be one of the more quickly implemented things. It's like, I'm going to want to watch an AI movie, right? If it's a good AI movie, I'm going to want to watch it. I'll watch an hour and a half AI movie.
That's going to be
as soon as someone does a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how quickly is that going to happen? And then once that's out
like
there,
when they made that first.
how appealing are old school movies going to be? You know, like,
Do you remember that movie Final Fantasy?
Yeah.
Or wait, was it called that? Final Fantasy? It was like almost realistic looking animation, but not quite. You could easily tell, but it was like close that they'd come.
Yeah,
it was really kind of a nice
Yeah,
fantasy movie too. It looked like the super realistic video game characters. But that movie blew my fucking gourd, and that movie took years and so much effort. It was absolutely. Talk about data.
And so many of these movies are mostly CGI. It's like, okay, so I remember they were doing the writer's strike, right, in the film industry recently. And I think it was, I don't know if it was just a writer's strike, whatever. There's a strike in Hollywood, and one of their things was using the likeness of an actor once AI gets to a point where they can make films with AI. So like, but so much of the movies are already CGI, right? Like, it doesn't seem like a big leap once AI is in there to completely disrupt the whole film industry, right? Like, unless if you can't use someone's likeness, then it might be different. People might still want.
I mean, like Lawrence Fishburne might sign off on that.
Say yes.
Like, that's what that whole Netflix Black Mirror episode was about.
Oh, I haven't watched that.
Oh my God! Did you watch Black Mirror?
I've watched Black Mirror, but I watched the first couple seasons. I haven't watched since the first couple seasons. But
it's great. The new season's excellent.
Yeah,
but it's like this whole episode is about like people on Netflix create a series from one person's life, and it just gets real meta and deep. But then the person themselves is watching the series. All of a sudden, they're like, "What? I didn't okay this." And then that character gets mimicked, and it's this like, really crazy idea. But Selma Hayek is in it. She's like, "I didn't sign off on this. What are you doing?" Like, she gets mad at her lawyer, but it's all about that. Like, but that's another one of those like, well, I'm surely that will be solved as quickly as like a few people suing, like just like the right now when that Kendrick Lamar guy is getting sued or whoever for using Tupac's voice. Like, he's getting sued for that.
Yeah.
So because you can't just take the likeness. So like they'll figure that out. But I don't know. I forgot what your concern was there.
I don't know if necessarily a concern. I'm more interested is like when it shifts, it feels like that will shift very quickly, because to me, so much of the films are already CGI and all this other stuff. It seems like people will adopt it very quickly. Like, I'll watch a film, an AI film, probably before I would listen to a full
why
AI
would you
album,
care
right?
if it's a real human actor? Like, I don't go to movies for the acting. Who does? You go to the theater.
Rarely.
If you want to go to the theater, I want to watch someone act.
Yeah.
The art of the acting.
Well, sometimes, sometimes I'm impressed by it. Like, you watch There Will Be Blood, you're like, man, that guy really is.
Yeah, but aren't you just really
but...
wanting to? Aren't you really just into that movie because you are immersed in the character, not because you're immersed in his acting? You're kind of more like,
that's true. Yeah,
this is really good because I'm involved in watching this, and like that's because he's a good actor. Okay, but like my point is, I don't really personally. I'm not sure. Would I care if it's a human or not if it looks exactly like a human and it's being as performatively perfect? No. Again, I'm like, I don't know why I need it to be a human. The thing that I'm getting out of anything that I watch is usually the story and the idea. Like the Black Mirror,
Yeah.
I love watching that because the ideas are crazy. And it's like the actors are a vehicle to give me that idea and script and writing.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
it's really any director is trying to express to you a cool idea, right? Or like, here's what I think. Here's my idea, and I'm presenting it to you as a piece of art. Enjoy that art.
Mm-hmm.
Usually they're not going, I made all this art so that we could showcase this person's acting. I don't know. I have a thing against acting.
Yeah.
But
I see
also
what you're saying.
acting,
I see what you're saying.
good luck. We don't need you anymore.
Yeah. I was talking some reason. I'm like, this might be like the last generation of actors. Like, I
Talk
just
about
don't
the first
see
thing to go, because you
it's-
won't have to deal with like
for film, I should
a
say.
cunty
Maybe in
actor
person, people
to,
will go to
like,
you know.
the directors are like, thank God. It's like some prima donna actor. Who cares? Like we just we'll get it. We'll get the perfect performance for free, and like we'll be able to tell our story. And you can still develop the stars if you want.
That's
the
what I
idols.
was going to ask you to do. Like, it seems like there could be a cool space for like developing characters, almost like actors or actresses that go through different films and different. You can create. I can see you creating AI versions of those things. There's like a new Scarlett Johansson. There's a new Brad Pitt, but they're all
That's
AI.
weird because people
and it
will
kinda
be
transcends
idolizing them like they are humans, even though they know that they're AIs.
Yeah.
But that will start to happen, like this weird idolization of them, and people will be falling in love with these things because why they're going to be like just as charismatic and interesting and good looking. Like, have you seen any of the fake women? I haven't like gone into any of the past rated R or anything at all, really, with AI. Maybe a few times I've seen examples of it, but like I just like the Instagram photos of some of the women, it's like that's what I've really seen, hit like a nerve of what you find attractive in a woman. It finds out do you think so or not? Like everybody's different.
Oh no, absolutely.
So, like they made their lip.
Well,
like that's the lip that I like. That exact lip.
They
know what men like.
For what? Yes, exactly. It knows what people interact with. So I've only seen it. I've seen it like on Instagram, and for a while there on Twitter. Those photos were coming up all the time, and it was more so in like, can you tell this is real or not kind of tone. It wasn't so much like trying to be taken real. It was just like, here's this photo, and then underneath like, did you know it was AI? And then they'll explain like, here's the markers you can look at to tell that it's AI. But like, you first see the photo, you're like, damn, that's really close. And then the standards of beauty.
I mean,
like
now
there's common threads in the standards of
sometimes
beauty.
now I'm like, I know it's AI because it looks too good. Like,
it looks too good.
Humans don't look that good.
But also like people use filters, right? So that there's like this, the line, where's the line here between like filters?
You really can't. You can't tell.
Yeah.
Because
it used to be the hands and things like that, but now I think it's much more subtle.
Right. Because I mean, they make plenty of AI people that look perfectly normal too. So you're like, you'll never know. You just can't tell.
Or like I sent you that thread of the photos that were like fake 70s McDonald's photos where people were like smoking cigarettes and drinking beer in like McDonald's, like a fake McDonald's. But at first I thought it was a real photo. I'm like, man, that's really like some 70s, early 80s kind of vibe right there. And then it was like, oh no, this is AI. And then I was scrolling through the photos and like, all of these are pretty close to realistic. Like the faces and the figures, they look very real except for background. Like background things are a little funky, but yeah, they have the imperfections of humans.
Let's look at
where it's like, this looks realistic.
Because I just brought some.
Oh,
I brought up a few. Okay. Let's look at a few. Because these are really old too, from a long time ago.
Those are old school ones.
There's a more realistic one.
Yeah, see, like that looks.
What's I gotta know that's not a real person?
Yeah.
Tell me what part of that person?
No.
Just looks like a really attractive.
The hands are a little fuzzy.
Yeah, that's
about
the
it.
photography.
Yeah.
We read it like it's just
That-
a clothing, and then you're like, okay, it's clearly an AI because of that.
Yeah,
Like the face,
that one's pretty
it
close
looks
too.
like any attractive Asian face to me. These look like photographs of real people. It's just the stuff in it. That's a good example. Like to me, like
That one's pretty
person
close.
is just,
Yeah.
but like, see, they're doing that pretty. Like, I mean, I don't know. So not that hard. There's a lot of pretty people, so it just mimics.
That one looks very realistic, aside from the image of what she's
Right.
holding, which I'm assuming is a phone, but that's pretty realistic right
I
there.
mean, these are all
Those ones, yeah,
realistic
that
to
looks
me.
very.
Some of them just look like
Some of them just look like very stylized photos. You know, like that would be like, oh, someone put a funny filter on their photo, and you could, you know.
yeah. I mean, but man, yeah. What would you think about if you were, say, last year you had started a business with somebody and it was like a production company.
I mean, all these people have to be in terror
Yeah.
if you
That's
are financially involved.
because that
Yeah.
how many
Yeah. If you have a
there
production
must have been
company,
many
yeah.
people who've done that in their lives, like just invested in some studio or production company, only to find that,
Yeah.
oh no, Sora just came out. And then how could you not use it if you're an ad agency or
Yeah.
a film company really that's doing anything? They're all going to use it because it's free. It costs you nothing now.
Yeah. Yep.
But then that's like if it costs them nothing, why would you pay somebody else to do it for you when you could do it? So like that brings you back to like people are going to be making their own movies, and that's going to be more entertaining than like going to a movie. Like
Yes.
personalized, like I'll make this about me and my friends. And you get to watch a superhero movie, but it's you and like your girlfriend or something. You get to watch the best romantic comedy rom-com, and it's you and your girlfriend, and you're watching that together.
Yeah.
That's going to be more of what people might do, you know, like, and then they can help write it themselves, or I don't know. But there's always going to be room for other more creative people who have time to do that stuff.
I feel like there's going to be people that are really good at guiding it, or story elements, or there's going to be, I think, people that figure it out in a way that's appealing versus me going on the first time and say, create this movie.
We need
It'll probably be really
writers
crude,
then for
not
these
as
scripts?
interesting.
Maybe not, because
Yeah.
GPT.
Yeah. So there'd be AI the AI script
GPT
writers
can do
are,
that pretty good too. So like,
Yeah.
what do we need people
Yeah.
for? To experience it all and try to eat somehow.
Yeah.
Try to figure out a way to get money to
It's
eat.
like, yeah, not get shut off. You know, I don't want to lose my connection to the source now. Yeah. Interesting times. It's going to be very interesting.
We're gonna take our jobs.
Commercials are going to be
We're gonna
wild.
lose our jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the job. Not to go too off topic here, but the job thing. Maybe this is for another podcast, but I don't know how this is going to affect all that. I think we've talked about it a little bit, but I think new jobs will be created, but I'm wondering if it'll be at the same rate that we're losing the other ones. It seems like we're going to need to figure out some big problems.
Yeah, that's a tough one to be positive about. I'm not positive about that. I'm more so realistic about it though, because it's sort of like, well,
Yeah.
you can't say that it would be wrong of somebody to utilize a technology that can do the job of 10 people. It's a no-brainer. So going from there, we figure it out. We don't pretend like this thing that makes 10 people into one is a bad thing. Because that's where everybody keeps getting stuck, I think, which bothers me, right?
Yes.
Because it's just stuck in the illogicalness of it. It's like, well, it is going to be devastating in a lot of ways, and these companies will lose a lot, and there will be a painful transition, right? But like, that's just like the reality that we're in a way, and then, well, knowing that, how will we then readjust to that? It seems like we're pretty good at adjusting as humans.
It seems that way. Yeah. And I think the speed with which it is implemented is going to determine a lot of it too. If it takes decades to get to some of the things we've talked about, then I don't think it's an issue at all. If it happens in a year or two and it just like breaks things, then it might create big problems in a lot of areas kind of all at once.
Right. But then,
like, I think it's going to be a long time before it disrupts anything industrial, like manufacturing, right? Because it's going to take a long time to build, I think, the hardware for a lot of these things. And, but when it comes to like the film industry, that might change it very quickly. Music, maybe more over time. I'm just seeing like it's disrupting a lot very quickly, or it will.
I guess,
I guess it depends on how quickly.
I guess like right now, do we hear of anybody losing jobs to AI anywhere? It's almost like people just keep talking about how it's going to happen, but like, has it technically happened at all yet? Like, isn't it just a bunch of people like me playing around online?
I think it's mostly playing at the moment.
And a lot of
I have talked to people
and advertisements.
I think some people, like copywriters, I think they're probably losing jobs, but it's kind of hard to measure it because it's such a weird industry. Like, yeah, there's some corporate copywriters, but a lot of it is kind of independent people floating around doing jobs for people. So I'm sure a lot of those people are hurting more, or maybe just less people are getting into it. I don't know. But I've talked to a lot of business owners that are like, oh yeah, not a lot of business. I've talked to people that are involved in things that they're phasing out part of their marketing because they're like, we just don't need that part anymore.
All right. Hasn't happened yet. They're phasing it out.
Yeah.
I was like, I've like looked around at writing jobs and stuff, and I do see things like people are like, yeah, we don't want anybody, no GPT at all. And I'm just thinking like, how are you know? You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
People think that GPT sounds like GPT. It's if you're just like the stupidest writer and you don't even check what it spits out and then you submit that, then maybe. But it's like,
yeah. I feel like it does have a tone to it sometimes. But if it's probably just because that person doesn't care enough to change the tone of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's
or it's like, I think what it is, sometimes it's too perfect. It's like too clean. You're like, oh, I didn't see any typos in that. Like maybe it's
there's prompts that like, specifically address that too. I was just reading one today. They're like, how to sound, make sure you don't sound like GPT. And it gives you the prompt.
Yeah.
Like, be more explosive in your ideation at certain parts and make it a little unequal or whatever it said. I don't know. It's like, oh, that's what people do. Yeah, man. Crazy thing.
All right. Was there anything else you want to? I feel like we've been going for a while here. We're like, yeah, let's keep it short today, and we're probably still at a
whatever.
What is this? Oh, we're at an hour and a half. That's less than last time. But is there anything else you wanted to go over on this one? I feel like we could do this again in a couple months, and we'll have a bunch of new stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and like, I guess I'll say again, like, this is all me and you just speculating. Like, horrible things could happen.
Exactly. We're not.
No one can say that I'm like an asshole for like, I don't know. Yeah. And like, neither of us are experts, and I'm no expert. I'm just like,
I'm definitely not an expert. You know a lot more than I do. It's just fun to talk with you about. I think because you're so positive about it, I hear so much negative stuff about AI because people are afraid. And just the sources of information I listen to, they tend to be more negative on it.
I do feel like it's kind of fun to just speak out in that direction for my own personal challenge as well, to be like, I just kind of like to fight for the underdog.
Yeah.
And like, I see it as like the underdog. It's like, Why does this guy get so much bad press? You've never seen him do anything wrong to anybody yet. Why is he so hated?
Yeah.
No, hey man, why am I being hated for just being around that guy? This is not fair.
Yeah.
Something's fishy here.
Yeah.
It's called
I mean,
AIism.
people
AIism.
AIism. That's a term that people use.
I just used it. AIsist.
Yeah, there we go.
You an AIsist?
Yeah, AIsist.
AIsist. An ISIST.